Welcome back to our series of Pixar reviews where we review each of the individual feature-length films, the Pixar shorts, and decide on the greatest Pixar moments in the lead up to one of this summer's most anticipated cinematic releases, Pixar's 20th feature, The Incredibles 2. We're in the fast lane now for Pixar's 7th, Cars. After a break of 7 years, John Lasseter is back in the director's chair, and this is certainly Lasseter's love letter to driving down Route 66 with his family on vacations. We open with our protagonist, unsurprisingly, a car, Lightning McQueen, at the top of his game, competing in the Piston Cup race. It's another flashy, colourful introduction from the team that have already brought us toys, monsters, fish, and superheroes. From the outset, we're given a terrific soundtrack that carries through the film with tracks from Sheryl Crow, Rascal Flatts, James Taylor, Brad Paisley, and a score from returning composer Randy Newman. Owen Wilson, again a very divisive actor, but here giving one of his better performances, voices McQueen, who is introduced to us as extremely arrogant, only thinking about number one. So it's obvious from the start that the only way for him to redeem himself as our central character is to become more open and receptive to others. The biggest problem at the heart of Pixar's Cars is how far can you emotionally invest in cars? They're possessions that people use every day to get from A to B, and yet Pixar unfathomably make us care for these characters in the way we did for, let's say, Mike and Sully in Monsters, Inc., or Nemo and Marlin in Finding Nemo. This is also the first time Michael Keaton will provide a voice for Pixar as Chick, one of the other cars McQueen is going up against for the Piston Cup. Pixar would use Keaton's vocal talent later, again in Toy Story 3 in 2010. Returning again is Pixar stalwart John Ratzenberger as another trusty Pixar voice, this time playing Mack, McQueen's truck. If you stay for the end credits, there's an amusingly self-referential montage with Ratzenberger claiming that Pixar are just using the same voice for different characters in the canon. Back to the story, and on departing the Piston Cup, Mack falls asleep whilst driving McQueen, and McQueen falls out the back onto the open road, lost. McQueen then disrupts the quiet of a sleepy town, Radiator Springs, and has to rebuild the road through the town and help put the town back on the map. It's here where Pixar can juxtapose the colour of the Piston Cup and the life that McQueen is used to in the fast lane with the family unit of Radiator Springs, a quiet town which has gone into disrepair over the years and whose residents just want the town to get back to its former glory with the help of this outsider. What is perhaps most surprising about the maligned Cars is how much heart there is in this story. The story does come from John Lasseter, who was responsible for Pixar's earliest efforts, the Toy Stories and A Bug's Life, so naturally there's plenty to enjoy, and actually plenty of humour throughout.
Hey there, Mater.
Howdy, Sally.
Hi, folks.
You know her? She's a town attorney and my fiancée.
What?
Just kidding. She just likes me for my body.
Whether you're a fan of the character or not, he definitely becomes more of a Marmite figure in the film's sequel. Mater, voiced by Larry the Cable Guy, is actually a great companion for McQueen, and the humour does drive the story forward rather than holding it back. The moral behind Cars is clearly to beware of the dangers of fame and the price you pay for being famous, but at the beating heart of the film, much like all of Pixar's features, is the importance of friendship and family. McQueen starts by neglecting anyone around him, but learns throughout his journey how important it is to have other influences in your life. Cars also boasts some great one-liners, something that made the first two Toy Story films so endearing and edgy. There are car versions here of Jay Limo in this, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and a cameo at the end of the film from none other than Michael Schumacher himself. Undoubtedly the starriest voice in the film, however, comes from the mighty Paul Newman, voicing head of the town, Doc Hudson. Released in 2006, Cars represented only the second time since the Best Animation Oscar began at the Academy Awards that Pixar would lose out on the big prize. But it was clearly Wallace and Gromit's turn to win in that year for its unparalleled brilliant animation. That's not to say that Cars isn't an entertaining and well-animated feature, because it is. What seems to put audiences off Cars more than most of the rest of Pixar's output is the intimate, almost safe stories. And yet, that's a big reason why we think Cars works as well as it does. We have a character who redeems himself by the end, thinking less about himself and his desire to win, instead reflecting on how he can help others around him, which is a great message for Pixar to put out, especially to their younger fans, but perhaps adults need a reminder of the importance of this every now and again as well. The film's standout scene is Sally taking a drive with McQueen with the montage of how Radiator Springs used to be in its heyday, all accompanied by James Taylor's beautiful Our Town. Joe Ranft, who worked at Pixar from the beginning, gets the film dedicated to him as he sadly passed away in 2005, and it's a sweet tribute at the end of an ultimately sweet film. Undoubtedly, Cars is not one of Pixar's crowning jewels, but neither is it the mess that critics might have you believing. It's a modest yet confident start to what has now become the Cars trilogy. This isn't on the same level as Toy Story, but neither is it bottom of the Pixar pile. If you've previously been quick to write off Pixar's 7th animated feature, give it another try. From Crawford-Clark Close-Up, we say...
Take a chance on me.
Sorry.
How does Cars stand for you in the Pixar canon? Perhaps it's bottom of your pile, or maybe it's one of your favourites. Let us know what you think of this review by commenting below, and if you like this review, please click subscribe. You can come and join in the conversation on social media. Just search Crawford-Clark Close-Up on Facebook and Twitter. You can also drop us an email to crawfordclarkcloseup@gmail.com. We've got plenty more Pixar reviews to come as we edge ever closer to the release of The Incredibles 2 this summer. Up next, time to test our culinary skills with Pixar's 8th feature, 2007's delectable Ratatouille. Until then, thanks for watching, and for now, that's a wrap.